I remember like hanging out at my house, being a little guy, like maybe like 6, and hanging. Mom's cooking, and we had a little bar. There's some stools, face the kitchen. I had to like do something, so I would always draw, uh, just draw, and I would draw these battle scenes. Would usually it's like a piece of computer paper, something like that. Just draw a line, cross it. It was the ground, and then on each, one side, some tanks, some underground dudes digging to the other side, and the other side, planes and soldiers and things like that. I actually do have. It's not one of those really, but it's a picture I drew when I was like 3, and it's like this marker. This is like magic marker picture, and it's like a helicopter. Really shit. But helicopter, dude in the helicopter, and then above the helicopter was a cloud and lightning bolts striking the helicopter, and like I had, used the yellow and like squiggle in the guy's face, and some other things. And my mom actually, she framed it and gave it to my dad for Father's Day. And now that like we're talking about that action by my mother probably was one of my first exposures to the thought that me putting something like picture or painting on something else, and presenting it or hanging it and making it a decorative piece is something I could do. So I wanted to call her and ask her out on a date, but I told her that I was an artist and I wanted to use her as a muse, which, thinking about it now, sounds extremely creepy. And she thought so as well. However, it did open up dialogue. That's all I needed. But 6 months after dating, she's like, "Where the fuck is my painting?" She's like, "What? I've already sealed all the deals I need to seal. We're past that. That wasn't. Did you believe that? Did you think that I was really serious?" So I was like, "Shit." And she said, "I am not coming up again until I see something." That's exactly what it was. So I did a painting of her. Used one of her photos when I had Facebook stalking her. I'd seen a photo that I liked a lot, so I used that. It turned out pretty good. It worked. It worked for me. It worked for her. She continued to come visit me. It's awesome. There's a lot of pieces that get time put into them. Whether it's like 50, like that's kind of the reason I pull out, because it's not 50% done. It's like this needs like way more time that I have to put into it. I don't even know where this is going. I don't like it, and I don't. Obviously, if I don't know where something I don't like is going, I don't really want to see it play out. It might get cut up and used for another panel or canvas, and for a while I had a lot of pieces laying around that were incomplete, just stagnant. And sometimes those pieces turn into something great, like that Indian Trail of Tears piece with the native chief and the green behind it. That piece sat 50% done for a long time. I wasn't having negative feelings about it. I knew I was going to do it, but just didn't have like a reason to, and I finally completed it. That's part of the process, is taking a risk to do something, and you don't necessarily know how it's going to turn out in your head. It seems cool, but then you start doing it, and this idea is, it's not having the impact I see it having, or saw it having before. You have a girl just sitting at a bench, and it kind of looks like she could be waiting for a bus. But I think what's clear to me about that girl is that she looks kind of like a Hispanic girl, like somebody who could be a disenfranchised population in Boston. And what I see is a lot of kids young like that who start from their birth with so many obstacles against them, whether it be a single parent or low SES or economic status environment, low access to jobs, good education, hope, really. at the same time, to me, that picture is just this innocent character that is completely consumed by what she kind of came up in. And if you look at like kind of the shirt, I used the mapping that I used. Her neckline is 495 stretch around Boston. And then, you know, with the bench, I started messing around with like, you know, stained wood look. I just think it visually looks cool. So, you know, just adding stain in a specific way to indicate different parts of the bench. It's one of those pieces that I think visually from a distance looks somewhat similar. You know, I'm trying to kind of create stuff that defines a space in one way, just looking at it from a distance, but then when you get up close to it, it becomes something else. It's an image of this child soldier who's wearing a wedding dress, cocking an AK-47, wearing like the glove on the hand that's cocking the gun, not on the trigger finger, because you wouldn't want a wedding glove on your trigger finger, right? But it's just a very focused, you know, kind of shot. It's this individual that just looks so serious, wearing a wedding dress in war. It's just like so compelling to think about that. Where you have to be as a human being to think like, yeah, I'm gonna rock the wedding dress out to battle today. And I like to focus on that image. I think it's such a powerful, interesting image. It's soft but hard. It's well balanced. Went to the beauty store. So I walk in and, you know, the girl kind of looks at me. It's like, well, clearly you need some help. So I say, I need some hair. And then she says, yeah, no shit. I'm like, no, not for me. It's for an art project. It was really trying to get some of the lines. You know, there's a lot of fraying going on in the image, and kind of early on, before I was like really getting to be done with it, I felt like the road line almost looking like, you know, eye black or a warrior type, like war paint. What I was intending it for it to be was, you know, kind of a play on development, pushing people out, relationship between kind of who you are and where you just were, what area you're born into, and the impact of that area, that environment on you. You know, I kind of like was getting jerked around by different people around doing a show. You know, either it's you and a bunch of other people, or a specific genre you might, like gallery might want you to target. And I was just getting sick of it, so I just realized, you know, I could just do it on my own.
Damn, I didn't catch his name, no worries, don't rack your brain. He wrote it on the receipt, spoke with a mafia slang like bada bang. A lot of things bubbling from Main Street to underground like Tubman, round stay bustin', moving on your reproduction. True, everything's real. Sign, seal, deliver them yours. Anything less is such a...
When I decided to pull the trigger, it was like, this makes a lot of sense. You know, I can do the show that I want to do and would want to go see. I actually like had the original idea and talked to Rain and John Robinson about doing it. JR, he's an artist that I've been following for a long time. I've seen him and Rain, you know, producer and DJ who's going to be there, play together, and they have an amazing chemistry. You know, we're not catering to anybody. We're just letting people know that we're doing it, and you know, if they come, I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. If they don't, they're going to have regret, which is something they might look back on and, you know, feel bad about. When it was over, it was like, what? Like, what now? You know, that was motivating me for like months, like a half a year. Now it's gone and done. You know, love the product, but what do I do now? I had to really think about what was going on. I was like, dude, you just crushed it. Like, what are you pissed off or, you know, feeling depressed about? It was a great experience, the whole thing, doing it, you know, having these ideas of things that I wanted to do and kind of a thing I wanted to create and doing it, and it was amazing. And what I also saw from doing the show is I don't need anybody else to be a huge driver or factor in whether or not I have those dates or those projects coming up.
Like, I make that happen.
I like thinking more about, like, outside of the just making paintings, you know. I want to push kind of my envelope and make paintings that exist in different ways than just kind of how you would normally think about it. People are attached to certain pieces for certain reasons. I think as the artist, it's important that I think about that, and I think about what's the public, what's that population, and what are their interests. And, you know, it's not like me saying I'm just going to give them what they want. I'm saying, how can I tell my story in a way that they're going to understand better?